Are you enjoying yourself?
You might as well get comfortable, right?
I guess.
We're a family of 6 who explored the US in an RV and fell in love with the ocean, so we bought a boat and started a new adventure.
We wanted to take some time and talk about the electric motor because we realized we didn't really address it in the last video. I know a lot of you are asking, so before we go any further, I want to get this out of the way. The run that we made from there to here is not like a test of the motor to give you parameters, but we did want to talk about some of the things that we discovered and some of the challenges that we had and some of the things that we felt were good. So first thing was, in the last video, you remember the impeller had been disintegrated into a gazillion little teeny parts. The number one reason probably was the fact that we ran it dry because we hadn't been able to open the seacock yet before they turned me loose from the lift. The leading cause of it coming apart besides that was the fact that it was almost 3 years old. Alright, so let's go look at the motor. We'll explain what's going on with the impeller. Okay, so the impeller is right here on the motor, and whether you can tell or not, I'm not sure, but it is actually in line with the prop shaft. So as the motor turns and turns the prop shaft, that same basic shaft also turns the impeller. So as the prop goes in forward, the impeller turns one direction. When the prop goes in reverse, the impeller turns the other direction. So some of you already may be able to see a potential problem there. So let me show you what I'm talking about here. So pull this guy out. So these little nibs right here get folded over in one direction. As this spins one direction, they get folded over like that. And then when it switches directions, it has to fold them back the other direction and go around, and then it has to fold them back the other direction as you switch back and forth. So these things are always going back and forth. Well, as they get older and brittle, they tend to break off. And that's why they just have to be replaced even in a diesel motor. But a diesel motor only runs in one direction. The reversing happens in a transmission, whereas this one, the motors actually change direction and go forward and reverse. So that's kind of a flaw, really, of the water-cooled system with this impeller being on a direct drive, is that it does go back and forth. So that makes this a more consumable item, meaning that it needs to be replaced more often. And Electric Yacht recommends every year that it be replaced. Ours had sat for so long dry in the boatyard with these bent in one direction that when they went back and forth the other way, they just broke off. Also, the fact that there was no liquid in there to lubricate it definitely added to the problem. This is a first generation water-cooled motor, and they have since added some improvements. So by first generation, what that means is that the pump is designed to pump one direction. It comes in from the through hole, goes through the sea strainer, comes around and into the pump here, which pumps and pushes it out, and it goes through the heat exchanger over here and cools the antifreeze. After it runs through here, it ejects the water out overboard. So when you go in reverse, it wants to suck the water from that direction back through the pump the other way, but there's no water to suck because it's just sucking air. So if you leave it in reverse for a longer period of time, eventually it's dry inside of there. So what Electric Yacht did was they created a system of tubing and check valves that now, when it's in forward, it all runs through one way. When it goes in reverse, a check valve closes and it recirculates the water through this loop back down and through the pump. So that was a big improvement. We'll have to see how much longer the impeller lasts with that. But the nice advantage of this is that we don't have to worry about the impeller parts getting sucked up into the diesel and causing problems there. The worst they can do here is plug up our heat exchanger, which I can take apart and clean relatively easily. Okay, so now let's kind of go talk about how the engine performed. So I'm going to turn this on. All that's doing is running the depth finder right now. It doesn't have anything to do with anything else. Well, and the autopilot, because we're still wiring the boat. So we're 1.7. So we're about 2 feet under the keel, which puts this at about a 7 foot, or 7 foot deep of water right here.
Okay, push that up.
You like our bell?
It's really awesome, but it's noisy for video.
We should clean our prop one of these times too. So to clean our prop, we just put it in reverse for a minute, let the boat gently move to where it normally goes with the lines. Lines seem tight going backwards, almost. Once they're tight, the boat is stable, we can just give it a little bit of gas and let it run for a second, clean all the crap off the blade, which you can do with your regular prop too. But I don't have to start a diesel motor to do this. So, coming over here, we were able to pretty easily maintain 5 knots if we wanted to, and the display said we still had quite a bit of battery left and we weren't using too much of power. When we were really fighting the wind and the current, we just fired up the generator because I wanted to make sure we had plenty of power to get here. Having never done it before, we didn't know for sure what it was going to be like. It's a little Yamaha 2000 suitcase generator, so 2000 watt. And the way those generators work is when they overload, the engine stays running, but it quits producing electricity. I think we lost the inverter board or something on the generator because it quit producing power entirely. And I don't know when. When we got into dock, the display here still said we had 77% of our battery left. It's about a 2.5 hour float motor over here from the boatyard. So in 2.5 hours, we used roughly 25% of our battery. How long the generator was running and actually giving us a charge, I don't have any idea. I suspect we might have had a half hour. But this is not a new generator. This is a generator we've had for 8 years. And if you all remember, several months ago, Texas had a big freeze going on down here. And I have 2 of these generators, and we ran one 24 hours a day on our trailer, and we ran one 24 hours a day on another lady's house running heaters for like a week. We worked these generators pretty hard, but the motor ran great. It did a fantastic job. And it was quiet. It was nice because we could talk up here and hear each other without any issues at all. Little noisier down inside, a different kind of noise, and there's no smell, which was really nice. There was no smell or odor, diesel associated with it.
Can you bring that soda downstairs?
Do you want to show them the display?
See if you can see the display. We're using 0 kilowatts on the motor right now. Batteries are at 100%. We're using 0 amps. And we have 51.31 volts on the battery. And now I'm going to put it in reverse, and if you watch down here, RPMs will pop up when the motor starts to turn. So now we're running 382 RPMs. We're using 2.4 amps, and we're using 0.12 kilowatts of energy. So right here we have 19.8 hours left when we're running 600 RPM. So that's kind of how that display works. We probably will be motor only for most of the trip to Houston through the ICW, because the ICW is too narrow to put up sails in a lot of it. We'll get a pretty good idea then of what it'll do in all kinds of different conditions. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to throw them in the comments. Now that we have comments, that's great. Just recognize some of those answers I don't have full answers for right now. I don't know, honey. Anything else that we want to suggest or say about the motor? I'll be totally honest with you. Everybody likes to ask, do we have enough power with this motor? And the real answer is, I don't know. I have no frame of reference to compare it to. The diesel motor that was in here never ran, so we were never able to take this boat out with the factory motor, factory prop, put it in gear, and see how it performed. I have no idea. Compared to what it used to be, I have no idea. It seems to have plenty of power. It seems to work just fine. So we never really went over 5 knots coming here. But like I say, until we get out there some more.
No, and we were being really easy on it because we didn't know how long it would last, and we didn't have any experience. And just like we saw, we had a problem with our generator, and if we had been going full out and then needed our generator and it didn't work, this is one of the reasons why we make decisions like we do. And the reality is, people will say, well, that's why you shouldn't have an electric motor. I have seen way too many videos where somebody's diesel engine isn't working when they need it to. So the reality is, stuff happens.
Well, you know, it's about managing your resources, you know, and having redundant systems. I mean, you have a diesel motor and you carry X number of gallons on your boat for that, and you carry some in jerry cans. And when you're doing a crossing, you're doing math all the time and saying, okay, I don't have wind. Can I afford to pop the motor on and use up some of this diesel resource right now to motor while I don't have any wind? Or have I got so far to go that I want to save it all to the end, and so I'm just going to sit here and wait for wind, right? It's the same thing with us with our battery and electric motor. The difference is we do have a generator that we can use to recharge our batteries, but then we also plan on having our solar. So in a real way, the advantage we have is we do have an ability in the middle of the ocean to refill our diesel tank with our solar by just sitting around. So, you know, it's just managing the resources.
And it doesn't matter which resources you have, you have to manage them.
You need to know what your resources are. You need to know how much you have of each and what the benefits and risks are of using them or not using them, you know? Having that backup plan.
All right, well, we are super excited to have comments so that we can hear from you down below. If you'd like to see more behind the scenes, come over and join our Patreon crew, and we're gonna share how we put this amazing top on this boat next week. We'll see you there.
All right.
Bye-bye.
See you later.